Hey hi everyone, this is Mukesh Otwani from learn-automation.com. So in this lecture, we are going to talk about what is method overriding in Java. And guys, it is one of the very interesting topic and frequently asked interview questions as well, like what is the method overloading and what is method overriding. So before we start, I just want to mention that we already discussed about what is method overloading. We discussed about what is constructor overloading. So that was actually part of compile time polymorphism, or I will say static binding. But this video is mainly for runtime polymorphism, or I will say dynamic binding. So let's quickly see what exactly we are going to cover in this video. We'll talk about what is method overriding, or some people also call this as dynamic method dispatch. So we'll talk about this in detail now. Then we will see how we can achieve method overriding in Java. And we will also talk about some real-time examples like why we need this and in which scenarios we have to use method overriding. And finally, very important interview questions which you can expect out of this topic. Okay. So first of all, what is method overriding? As the name suggests, you're going to override the method, right? So in simple terms, it's whenever you try to override any method behavior, okay, or whenever you try to override the certain features of a method, it will be calling as, or we will call this as a method overriding. Okay, so let me go through a couple of sentences and the slides, then I will, once I'll start talking about the real-time scenarios, you will be able to relate it easily. So it's a part of runtime polymorphism. Okay, we can call this as a dynamic binding, or you can see this as a dynamic method dispatch. So when we achieve this, or how can we achieve this method overriding? When you have a parent class relationship, and parent class has the same method which child class has. Okay, or in simple terms, I will say when parent class and child class, they both have the similar method with similar signature, then it will be known as method overriding. Okay, so for example, parent class, let's say ABC, has one name method called name method, and you also have a child class which is extending the parent class, and that class also have a similar name method. Then this scenario will be known as method overriding, when parent class and child class, or main class and subclass, have the same name, or I will say same method with the same signature. Then we will call this as a method overriding. So you can see I'm using one term called same signature. So signature means number of parameter, type of parameter, and order of parameter, or in simple words, number of argument, type of argument, order of argument. If both parent and child class have the same name with same signature, we will call this a method overriding. Again, if you're not able to relate, that's fine, just give me a couple of minutes and I will show you through real-time examples what is method overriding. But this is just one definition that I want to highlight here. Now the question comes, why we call this as a runtime polymorphism? Because here the references plays a very important role. Okay, so let me show you the couple of scenarios, okay, and then you will be able to relate it. So before we start the scenarios, let me start writing first basic program so that you can start relating. So the first package which I will create is, I will say, method overriding demo. So here, first of all, let me create one class. This class, I will consider this as a parent class. So let's say parent and child. I will not change the name. In the second example, we'll take some real world entities and we will try to achieve this. As of now, let's consider with parent and class. Parent and child class. So in the parent class, I will keep one method called display. Okay, and this display method just going to display some word or some sentences. So let me call this method, and let me keep some dummy statement. I will say I am in parent class display method. Clear? Now let's keep one more method called show, and I will say I am in parent class show method. Now let me create one more class, and this class I will give child class. Again, I will be taking public static void main from this class, because from this class I want to start the execution. So when you have to do overriding, first condition that it has to extend one class, then only you can do the overriding, right? That is quite obvious. For overloading, you don't need inheritance. You can achieve overriding, overloading within the same class. But for overriding, you need a separate class. Okay, so in our case, we have a parent class. So let me extend this and let me expand the parent class. Now parent class have two methods. Okay, so let me create one method here called public void display, or let me say display new, or let me remove this. Okay, let's keep it as it is, display new. So you can see it is an independent method. We are not getting any error or any issue because this is totally related to this class. But if I create one more method now, public void display, okay, can you see the moment I keep the same name like display here, display in the parent, and it also has the same signature. As you can see, there's no argument here, also no argument. So these two methods are same. So you can see Java automatically started giving me this arrow marks, and it says that you are overriding one method called display method, which is coming from parent class, and packages method overloading demo. So Java is able to detect automatically that this method is also available in the same, like in the parent class. It means we are overriding its behavior. Clear? Now let me write a sysout statement here. So sysout statement, I will say I am in child class display method. Perfect. So you are able to understand now with this arrow button or arrow option. If you have any other name, okay, then this is not going to override. Now let me create one more method, and this time I will call that I'm going to pass a name variable or parameter. So you can see right now it is not giving me any override indication, because now we have changed the signature. It means here we are accepting 0 argument, here we are accepting 1 argument. So this method is different, but this method was exactly same which we have in parent class. So this was method overriding. Now here comes the main deal now. If I start creating object, so let's say let me create object of child class. I will say obj1 equal to new child class. The moment I say obj1 dot, if I call a display method, so now can you guess which display method will be called? Because the moment you say obj1 dot display, display is available in the child class, display also available in the parent class. So the moment you run this statement, or even you run this Java program, you will see it is going to call the display method of the child class. Okay, so whenever you have this kind of scenario, always remember the object matters now. Okay, so reference is pointing to child class, and object also you're creating to child class. So this display method will be always coming from the child class. This is very straightforward scenario, no other confusion. Second scenario, if I create parent class object, let's say obj2 equal to new parent class, and if I call obj2 dot display, it's very straightforward again. Since parent class is not extending any other class and it has only one method called display, the moment I call obj2 dot display, so this is going to call child class display method, this is going to call parent class display method. So let me run this just to cross check. Yeah, now here comes the main deal now, the third scenario, which is actually you will get in interviews, that the moment I say parent obj3 and new equal to new child class, now you can guess here that I'm creating object of child class, but I'm still pointing to, or this obj is type of parent class. So if I say display method, now there's a confusion. Which display method will be called? Okay, so Java is again very straightforward in this case. Java always says that even if you store it in the parent class reference, I will still call the child class method, because now we have override the behavior. So only one way to call the parent class method is using this approach. You store the parent class object in the parent class reference, then only you can call the display of parent class. Otherwise, in these two cases, you can always call, or you will be able to call only the child class display method. Okay, so just keep this scenario in mind. Last scenario is totally impossible. You cannot store a parent class object into child class reference. Okay, this is invalid scenario. Java don't allow this part. So only three scenario is clear. So this is very straightforward. This is also very straightforward. Only remember this point, guys. If parent class and child class having the same name, okay, or same method with the same signature, and if you try to create object of child class but reference is pointing to base class, you will be able to call display of child class method. So now if you go back to this scenario, I have noted down all the scenarios. So the first scenario, parent p equal to new parent class method will be called. Child c equal to new child class method will be called. Third scenario, even if you have parent class reference but object of child class, you can call, or you will be able to call only child class methods. And the last scenario is totally invalid. Child c equal to new parent, this is not allowed. Child class references cannot hold the parent class object. Just keep this point in mind. Okay, so now let's talk about a real-time scenario. Why we need this? Because it does not make any sense with this example and with this example. So let me give you one example from a real-time scenario so that you can relate. If I create a class called let's say RBI, I can take a number of example, guys, because in real times we generally use overriding feature. But let me give you one very basic example related to bank so that you can relate easily. So RBI have one method, okay, and this method name I will keep as public void. I will say home loan interest rate. Let's say government has decided that home loan interest rate should be 8%. Okay, so I will say home loan interest rate is 8%. But now we have so many banks, okay, and each bank is going to definitely change the interest rate because they will have their own processing fees and they just want to follow some base rate plus minus. They can play with the interest rate. So let's say I'm creating one bank called SBI. So now SBI bank also extending the RBI, okay, Reserve Bank of India. And now this SBI, let me take one public static void main first of all, void main, and our program will start from here. Okay, and I will create the same method here, public void. Let me get the method name directly from here so that I don't have to write the complete method. And here I will say, let's say SBI is giving 9%. So now this is again method overriding. The moment I will say I want SBI home loan, so I will say SBI home equal to new SBI. I will always get the same, okay, I will get the behavior of the child class method, not the base class, because we have override the behavior, we have override the methods. Now if you take any other example, let's say I want to deal with Axis Bank. So this time if I create Axis Bank, or let's say ICICI Bank. So in ICICI Bank, let's say they are charging 10%. Okay, so I will just make it 10%. So RBI is giving 8 since we are using the same method with the same signature. So this is again method override. The moment I say ICICI home equal to new ICICI, and if I call this method, this particular method will be called. You can only call the base class method when you create reference and object of the parent class. So the last class, if I create, let's say if I create the last class, okay, let's say HDFC, and HDFC also have the same method, okay, and this time I will say HDFC is giving 11%. But if I want to call the base class method now, which is again, so first of all I have to extend the base class, which is RBI. Okay, we are getting this. Now if I say RBI R equal to new RBI, okay, then you will see if I call this R dot home loan interest rate, I will get only the 8% which is coming from parent class. Do you also know that when you write interface, by default you have to achieve, or by default you have to do the method overriding? Okay, so that is our next point. So this is many people ask in the interviews as well. So let's say if I create one interface, this interface, if I say let's say loan, so this interface is going to have few methods. So guys, again, if you're completely new to inheritance interfaces, then I already have created a couple of videos for interfaces and inheritance. Please go ahead and watch them, because all the next videos that we are going to discuss will be based on the previous videos. So for example, this interface have one method called public void home loan, okay, and this interface again have one more method called car loan. I'm just going to keep only two methods, but you can have n number of methods. There is no limitation. Now let's say if SBI is SBI want to, okay, it's already extending, we can directly do the implement here as well. Let's say I want to implement loans as well. So you can see we have created one interface. So now it is asking me that you have to override one unimplement method called home loan and car loan as well. The moment I say I want to override, can you see these two options again? So if I just fill this, if I just write the complete body, I will say I am, or I will say SBI providing home loan and SBI providing car loan. So now if you see this part, now we also have two method which is also coming from interface. So by default in interface, whatever methods we have to implement, right? So that is also kind of overriding, but here in other words we will say that we are implementing, okay, and if you see this one, we are overriding. So it's not exactly method overriding, but you can see they have the similar kind of relationship, where in the interface you have methods that is unimplemented, but in class you are implementing. So it has the same signature, only thing is you are giving the body here in your class. Okay, so that's all I have for this video. Just quickly I will summarize. It's a runtime polymorphism. We can also call this as dynamic binding, or you can say dynamic method dispatch. So when parent and child class both have the same method with the same signature, we will call this a method overriding. And these are the four possible scenarios. Okay, so that's all I have for this video, guys. If you like this video, share with your friends, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next video. Have a nice day.